Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for helping me set this up. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all able to see me. My name is Tamizh, and I'm very, very happy to be a part of this conference and host a session on inquiry-based teaching and learning. I have experience as an ICT teacher in the primary years program and as a design teacher in the middle years program. I'm currently pursuing my MTech, and I've taken a short break from teaching. I'm very, very happy to share my teaching experiences in terms of, facilitating interesting lessons in my classes, how I have used inquiry based learning in my classes, and how I have explored different models of inquiry. And I'll also be sharing a list of resources which I have used in my class, along with a few student work samples. You can connect it with whatever you're teaching and see how best you can use these resources. Now that we have transitioned to virtual learning mostly, these resources will definitely be useful and will enhance your teaching and learning experience. So, without further delay, let me get into the session. I will be posting a couple of links in the chat window for you to access and view certain details. I'll let you know how to use those resources as we proceed further in the session. So, inquiry based teaching, as you all know, it's all about helping students ask a lot of questions about a certain concept, foster their critical thinking, and helping them arrive at a solution through a series of questions, through a series of investigation. And of course, there is a certain amount of participation that is required from the teacher end, and it's also completely student centered. The learner agency is the main focus over here. But then, how do we effectively facilitate an inquiry based teaching and learning? So, we will be talking about the different types of inquiry in this session. And whatever types I am explaining over here is not just pertaining to what I'm saying, because they can be different types of inquiry. They could be different models of inquiry. Every day when we read blog posts on education, every teacher comes up with a new way of facilitating her class. She conducts inquiry in a different way. He or she conducts inquiry in a novel way. So that becomes a different model altogether. So it's an ongoing, process, and it's like an area for research. And how much teacher guidance is really required in an inquiry-based learning? When do we decide when to step out or when to intervene? What are the different phases involved in inquiry-based learning? And the list of tools that I have used in my classroom to foster the ATL skills as well as the 4Cs, the 21st century learning skills. So this will be the agenda of the session. Now, to start with, I always love connecting a concept with a real-time application. So when it comes to inquiry, if be it a professional development session or a class where I have to introduce something to the students, I use technology and draw an analogy between that and something else. So when it comes to inquiry, I love to see it as a small activity that I can do using Google Maps. So, for example, this is my source and this is my destination. I can type the source and destination over here on Google Maps. Most of us have used Google Maps, and it suggests different routes that can be taken to reach the destination. But then the routes need not be just similar to what we see over here. It can be different routes. Each route will take different time, and each route can be reached through different mode of transport, right? So the goal is going to be the same for all of us, but what path we wanted to choose, what mode of transport we need to take, it completely depends on our choice, the availability of resources that we have, or the mindset that we have. How do we connect this with inquiry? So the travel path is the inquiry model. As you can see, there are three different travel paths over here. Depending on whichever inquiry model suits my learners, suits my lesson, I'll choose that kind of an inquiry model. And the mode of transit, what kind of transport do I have to take? A bus or a two-wheeler, or should I go on foot? That depends on the resources and the learning style. Each class has different set of resources, different types of learners. So based on that, I choose the mode of transit or how I want to reach my goal. And then the destination, the learning outcomes, that's going to be same for everybody. At the end of the day, we're all going to attain the same learning outcome, same learning objective. So this is how I perceive inquiry. And that's why I say there is no one size fits all approach over here. There is no cookie cutter method over here. We all choose different inquiry model as per the resource availability and the kind of learners we have in our class. Now, what I'm going to do is, before I directly say that these are the different types of inquiry model, I want you all to explore something, and then a few of you can kind of share your thoughts and observations about this little assignment I'm going to give now. I'm going to share this document over here. I'll just quickly explain what this is all about. I'm going to give you access to all of you. I'll post the link in the chat window so that everybody can access it. There are different activities that I have created based on the subjects you all teach. So one is for English, language and literature is for English. There's one for arts. There's one for design. There's one for second language. Language acquisition could be French, Spanish, whatever. Individuals and societies is again history, geography, sciences, physics, chemistry, biology. And we also have one for math and one for physical education. So what's going to happen is I want all of you to focus only on the subject you teach. Just go through the instructions that I have put inside that particular box. So I've asked you to create a product. It's not possible to be to complete this within the session. So we can just analyze this whole document. So first, understand. Just ignore the meeting link part. Just ignore that. Read the topic. Go through the resources. The instructions are not same for all the subjects. It differs from one subject to another. And also go through the questions I've given and the kind of end product that the students are expected to design for each subject. Take 5 minutes, go through the panel that's given only for your subject. After that, we'll have a short discussion and then we'll proceed further. If there is any difficulty, please post a message in the chat window and I'll be glad to help you on that. You can talk about the plus minus interesting factors in that particular instruction plan. You can use the raise hand option. Bina, I believe that the participants can raise their hand and.
Yes, we
Okay,
actually
great,
are.
super, thank you. If you have time, you can, of course, definitely compare another subject's instruction with your subject and see how different it is. And you can also, share your observations on that. So anyone who's ready to share what they think about this document or the plan for your subject, please feel free to interact. Keep it very interactive. I'd love to hear from all of you. Anything, even if you think something's missing or something's incomplete, whatever it is, please do share. You can use the raise hand button and let us know that you're ready to interact. Yes, Miss Pratibha. Yes, Miss Pratibha, please go ahead. I hope they're able to unmute and yeah, perfect.
Hi, I hope you can hear
Hi.
me. Hi,
Yes,
Tamil.
yes. Hi.
Thank you for doing this. It's beautiful document that you have created here, and I chose the science section of that, and I went to the simulation and stuff that you have put together. It is so intriguing for sort of self-learning that we learned this morning from Mr. Shugoto. And the interesting thing is that it's not only self-explorative, but also inspires children to look deeper, and it's so visually available to them. I'm not sure how long it takes for you to design this kind of engagement, but it's definitely inquiry driven and engaging, as far as I see myself as a student. The second aspect, I think, when you said the product and you gave them to make a map, personally, I think that product can be of various variety. Like, you can give different choices how you want to reproduce your learning. So that's one thing that I can chip in as. But look at this. This is beauty. Thank you for
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for beautifully summarizing that. The science assignment part. Yes, you're very right. I have kind of created a boundary over here, saying that you have to create a concept map and you have to include the terminologies, which is not always required. A flexibility can be given over there. Thank you so much. Yes. Kalan, hi.
So I am a music teacher. So of course I went with group 2 with the arts. And what I really appreciate about kind of this, the structure here is that there is a sense of structure. There's certain, obviously, expectations and requirements, which obviously is for inquiry-based learning, there needs to be some structure, but that there's a lot of opportunity for kind of this voice and choice idea, right? They're able to choose their own artists. They're able to choose the works of the artists. They're able to choose how they show their analysis, which is something that I use a lot in my classroom and my students really appreciate. Especially I'm finding this with my 6th graders, is they'll find the most unique ways to kind of show what they want to do. But that there's a lot of this ability to explore obviously what they're interested in, but also demonstrate that in ways that they want to.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're on point, because yes, there is a lot of flexibility in the arts section to, conduct inquiry. The student involvement is more, because I'm not really trusting one topic on the students. They have the choice to choose the artist. They are going to list down the inquiry questions. They can identify the resources on their own, and they can have so much flexibility to express their understanding. Absolutely. Thank you so much for summarizing that. Any more participants who'd love to share their thoughts and views on this? All right. So this document is, I'll be, sharing it with Ms. Shifali and Ms. Bina as well. It will be available for you to view anytime you want. So the reason why we did this activity is to understand how ideally teachers plan their classes, and how you can categorize different lesson plans into the different models of inquiry. So what's basically happening here is, we have tried to explore the lesson plans, or the instruction plan for these many types of inquiry. So when it comes to structured inquiry, students usually follow the lead of a teacher. So we give them everything. We choose the topic, we give the resources, we tell which tool to use, we give the inquiry question. So everything is being given by the teachers, and the whole class just follows the instruction, nothing else. Whereas controlled inquiry is where the teacher chooses the theme or the topic most of the time. We identify resource, and the students will use the resource to answer the few questions. And sometimes we can also give the flexibility for the students to add more inquiry questions beyond what we have given. Guided inquiry is the most commonly used inquiry in many of our classes, where we choose the topic or question, but then the students at the end of the session will come up with a product or a solution to demonstrate their learning. Most of us do have this in our own classes. I'm not saying that this is the best way model to follow, this is the worst way to follow, not at all. In some cases we will have to pick a controlled inquiry depending on the lesson that we have time constraints, we have learners with different learning needs. So based on the availability of resources and the learning style and the type of learners we have in class, we need to be able to choose the best form of inquiry that fits us. When it comes to free inquiry, that is where You can take PYP exhibition as an ideal example, or an MYP personal project as an ideal example, where the students are free to choose a topic or the theme. They are going to do an extensive amount of research and list down the possible primary and secondary resources they'll be using. Whether they have to go and interview experts or conduct research online, come up with an idea for a product, design the product, and then test the product, something like that. So entirely the learner agency is the focus over here, and the students take complete responsibility. And this doesn't mean that the teacher needs to just stand and watch things. There is a minor amount of teacher intervention that's required at each and every point, where we give them constructive feedback and help them improve. So on the same line, you can also see how it differs from inquiry to inquiry. Like I said just now, here if you see the topic, when it comes to structure, the teacher selects it. Again, the teacher selects it. Here, sometimes the students can be given an option to select the topic from the list of choices they have, but here the student selects the topic. Again, the inquiry questions. I followed the same pattern and designed the lesson plan that you all just saw. And in terms of availability of resources, we sometimes ask them to come up with a list of resources they feel is appropriate for that concept or lesson. Or sometimes we give a few and then ask them to extend the list. Of course, there is product. At one point, there is no product. We determine the product and tell them to complete it, just like a worksheet or a homework. Whereas at some point, students choose how to display their understanding. So these are some of the commonly used types of inquiry models. But then there is this debate. Kat Mudrock, she writes amazing articles, as you all know. She talked about this types of inquiry, and she says, why do we, put inquiry in this spectrum and say teachers need not be a part of this, students can take complete control over this? It's never like that. Teachers will always have to be there, students will always have to be there, their participation and engagement should always be there. It's never either or, it's always and. It's both of them that's being involved in this whole process. So she says you need to find the right mix at the end of the day. Whatever type of inquiry you're doing, you need to understand and adjust these controls to ensure that a certain amount of intervention is working for certain lessons, and for certain lessons you can just be an observer and give them feedback whenever it is required. So it's all about adjustment of these controls and finding the right mix. You can never say that teachers involvement is not required or the students control is not required. So this is one interesting topic. If you go to her website and you can just type finding the right mix, you can read the article. It's very, very useful. And anytime I plan an inquiry based lesson, I kind of come back and check on these questions to see how much I have to pitch in and how much, freedom and flexibility the students can have. So yes, in a nutshell, you have to determine first what the students need to learn, the learning outcomes. Identify the resources. These are very, very important, because without the resources, the students can lose interest in the lesson, and sometimes the resources kind of builds that interest on a concept. And use the resources to report the learning. At any point, reflection is very, very important. So we need to give them chance to document their understanding in some way. And of course, assess the progress in the learning from time to time through summative or formative assessments. And when it comes to the phases of inquiry, yes, we have different models of inquiry, but how does each inquiry happen? What is the background structure over here? So we talk about interaction. First, you need to give an interesting material to the students so that they interact with the content and get their interest sparked and get their creative juices flowing. So some kind of interaction with a material is needed, a source material. And then comes the clarification. So you can ask them to discuss what they have studied, or you can ask them to document what they have studied, like organize their thoughts on a notebook or make a PPT, or take notes on any note-taking software. That's when a lot of discussion and clarification of what they have understood from this interaction happens. And then comes the questioning. So yes, I have some data with me. What am I going to do with that data? That's when the critical thinking happens, the questioning happens, and the relevant inquiry questions are being created from the content that I have collected. And finally, what do I do with this information? How do I find answers to these inquiry questions? And what do I do with the answers? Do I create a solution for a problem? Do I take a meaningful action? And that's when the last part comes. So this is one way of looking at how inquiry happens, and how the children are able to reach a solution for a problem that they are investigating. Now, of course, when it comes to 21st century learning skills, in order to help our learners become independent thinkers and problem solvers, we directly or indirectly keep fostering these 4 skills in our classes. Whatever activity we do, we call it as ATL skills in IB. In other curriculums, they call it as learning skills, whatever. But we keep talking about this a lot, and we ensure that before they leave school, they have all these skills with them in order to face the world out there, in order to take responsibility for their learning once they move to colleges or universities. So how do we foster this in our classes, and what kind of technology really helps you drive this whole plan? When I was a tech integrationist, I looked at one of the IB documents which talked about, how you need to look at tech integration in your school and what are the factors that you need to consider. And this is a very interesting diagram because it says learner agency, the information that we have, and design as 3 core areas when it comes to implementing technology into the curriculum. They call it as the AID lens. So what happens is, in a school, you have concepts and you have things. So concepts are nothing but how are you planning to integrate technology into your curriculum? What are the pedagogical practices that you can use? It's not just like a separate subject anymore. ICT is not a separate subject, just like how we used to have in our school, where we were taken to lab once a week and we had some hands-on activities. Now technology has entered classrooms. We have mobile learning technologies out there. It's all very what do you say, ubiquitous, right? It's everywhere. So how do we integrate technology in the curriculum, be it any subject? But then do we also have the necessary infrastructures? Do we have the things, and the resources, be it digital or tangible, whatever it is? Do you have the resources with you? If you have both, then you need to involve teachers and learners as main stakeholders, and also the technicians and budget holders. So these things coexist. And when this all comes together, you get a successful tech integration into the school. Just implementation is not enough. Integration is also absolutely necessary. So both need to coexist in that system. So based on this, many schools design the tech integration plan or the device policies in their respective schools, and they run a technology driven curriculum. Now I'm going to share this toolkit sheet with you. I always love to create toolkits because even in future I have come across an interesting tool. I keep adding it to the list, and I'm going to give you access and keep it available forever. So feel free to bookmark this page and keep it. So this toolkit is going to have a list of tools. I hope everybody's able to view this. Based on the 4 Cs, I have listed a few tools I have used in my class and found it to be very effective. So you can use this toolkit whenever you want. Now I'll just show a few student work samples and a few lessons that I have created using these tools. That will also give you an idea and help you connect with how you can use the tools for your lessons. So yes, that's the sheet. So let's start with the first C, critical thinking and problem solving. What kind of tools can be used, to foster this particular learning skill? So this is Google Expedition, and many of you must have used it, especially if you are an IMS or history geography teacher. So this is an app, a free app, which can be downloaded to the tablet if you have, or a phone, and you can download virtual trips from the Google Expeditions. These trips are already created by developers of Google, and you can just download it to your tablet and just run the trip. So what happens is there is a slideshow kind of a project that's available. The students can explore 3-dimensional photographs, 3D photographs, or 360-degree photographs of places around the world. And there is also something called as a focus point. So when they click on the focus point, they'll be able to see a detailed description. The description is available in the form of a text as well as in the form of an audio. So they can listen to it if they want to, or they can read the description. In this picture, you're seeing a few students from grade 4 doing some research on civilizations. Their unit was on where we are in place and time. So they were talking about different world civilization. And you can see, the expedition gave them a beautiful understanding of the Chinese civilization over here. Along with this, you can also use something called as Google Lit Trips. I have whatever I'm talking about right now, it's all added to the toolkit, so there's no need to worry about the links. So Google Lit Trip is another great platform. If you are an English teacher and if you want to integrate technology into a novel study, right? So Google Lit Trips are wonderful resources. Again, amazing educators around the world have contributed and have created a lot of literature trips in Google Lit Trips. So what happens is they have organized content this way for various books. So these books mostly focus on traveling, adventures on a certain geographical location. So they have kind of created a 3D view of the journey or the path that the main character in the book is taking. So if you want to get a lit trip, what you can do it, you can go to request a lit trip over here in the store. Mostly the lit trips are available, but at some point they might say that certain lit trips are not available temporarily or stuff like that. So you have to give your email ID and you have to choose a title from the list. And after you choose, you can click it, request lit trip. So what happens is after you request, it'll take another for 5 or 10 minutes, and then it comes to your inbox to whichever email ID you've given. And you can directly open this lit trip using Google Earth. If you have Google Earth in your system, you can download the lit trip file and open it through Google Earth, or you can also do it online. It's going to take a while to load it because it's pretty heavy. Generally, Google Earth files are a little heavy. So I'm just going to leave it here and come back once this loads. So that's the beauty of Google Lit Trips. Since I mostly teach ICT and design, I've helped teachers use this, but once I saw how the things were created on Google Earth, I really wish I could teach literature as well. So it's really beautiful, and I'll show you. Yeah, there it is. So what happens is there is a path that's created based on the story that is being presented here. So I think this focuses on something in Rome. So you can present the lit trip over here. When you present, it talks about, I think, the different places that appears in the book. And while you're teaching in the class, while you are at a certain point in the novel, you can show them virtually saying that this is where it happened and this is how it looked. There are also descriptions for each and every place. And this is not just something that only experts can create. Once you know how to use Google Earth, there are a lot of tutorials available on YouTube. It's very, very simple. You download Google Earth and you just find out how to create or, how to create a path for each and every point on the map. And then you can also add descriptions, you can add voiceovers, you can do so many things on Google Earth. It's a powerful tool, and it itself requires a separate session. So this is the kind of virtual learning experience you can give to learners, especially when they are into the virtual mode of learning. This kind of tool will make your lessons absolutely interesting. It's not just for literature. You can, if you know how to use Google Earth, you can do it for any subject. So yes, so this is one type of online. This is one tool which can really enhance your lessons. And yes, this is another tool. I'm mostly speaking about Google tools because I'm a certified Google educator, and naturally I got inclined towards Google tools because they're free, they're easy to use, they're very simple, and kids love using most of the Google tools. But then if you're able to find an alternative, then please go ahead and do the same kind of integration like how I have done for these lessons. So Science Journal is another tool, which is an app that you can download on your phone. Naturally, our smartphones come with sensors, light and sound and movement. So this is one app which can help you do science experiments, and it sorts of does an empirical analysis. It measures certain things like movement or the amount of light falling on something or the amount of sound that's getting recorded. So this can be used as a device for measuring certain, certain factors. So here, if you see, the children have designed an earthquake-resistant house model. They have compared the movements that the house can receive when there is a tremor, when it is touching the surface, versus when you have something underneath the house, or when you suspend the house or something like that, how much amount of vibration is able to reach the house and how much damage it can cause to the building. So they used this app to measure the movements that were recorded that the house had received, and they did some analysis over there. So this is a very good journal app. If you are a science teacher, you can download and check it out, and they also have some inbuilt experiments and ideas for you to use in your classes. It's called Science Journal. So yesterday we were talking about a couple of online tools for assessment during one of my sessions. You can also use tools like Socrative. Some of you might be using it. Socrative is an amazing formative assessment tool, especially if you want to have a multiple choice question-based quiz in your class, just to quickly test their understanding. Socrative is a great tool. The beauty of these tools is that they all generate a backend report, a consolidated report, an individual report in the form of Excel, in the form of PDF. So you can generate different types of reports and you can keep it documented and you can refer to it easily whenever you want to. Another thing is Class Dojo. If your school is using Class Dojo for classroom management, that's another brilliant tool. Seesaw. Seesaw is an app that's used for creating digital portfolios where the students can record their understanding of a lesson for a certain term or for the whole year. Whatever they do can be digitally recorded on Seesaw in the form of images, videos, text, you name it, it has it. So, and when there is a conference, a student-led conference or a PTM, the students explain the entire unit that they have documented through the Seesaw app. And Edmodo is for a little grades that are above 6. So Edmodo is again a classroom management software, and parents can also be a part of Edmodo. So you can post your assignments, quizzes, tests, everything on Edmodo. Right, this is a very interesting platform. It's called Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is basically to create video-based quizzes. So what you can do in Edpuzzle is you can connect or fetch a video from YouTube, bring it to Edpuzzle directly, and then you can insert questions in between the video. For instance, if I'm a student watching a video on, let's say, work, energy, and power, after 5 minutes, it's just 147. Okay, let's say after 50 seconds, I can see a question popping up and I have to answer that question before the video continues. I cannot skip the question. I cannot fast forward the video, because that is going to give you, as a teacher, you'll be able to see the progress from your end and see how the students are doing the work. I have given a lot of video based assignments on Edpuzzle. So you can give multiple choice questions, you can give short answers. In case you're giving a short answer quiz, then after the student has watched the video and submitted the quiz, you will have to evaluate it manually because the system won't be able to do that. So you can embed questions inside the video and give it as an assignment on Edpuzzle. It also has an integration of Google Classroom. So you can directly connect Google Classroom and Edpuzzle and give it as an assignment as well. So you can import the classes you have created in Google Classroom to Edpuzzle platform, and you can give assignments over here. So this is a very interactive way of giving quiz. We also have quiz platforms like Kahoot and Quizzes. They're doing the same thing, again, gamified version of a quiz. So there's a lot of animations happening here and there. There's a lot of appreciation badges that keeps getting distributed to students who are performing well. So it's like they're playing the game, but at the same time, they're learning something useful. So these are some platforms that are worth exploring and using as well. This is again for higher grades. We use ManagePack, which is another commonly used tool, and we also use AssessPrep. So AssessPrep is a tool which will be used to create assessments for children in 9th and 10th grade in IB, MYP, because they will be attempting the online exam, the e-assessment. So for them to prepare, for them to get a hands-on experience of how an ideal IB online test would look, we conduct assessments on AssessPrep, and we do those mock tests on assess prep. And ManageBack is again a learning management platform which can be used for creating unit planners, especially when it comes to MYP. It's a powerful tool to make unit planners, to create assignments, to evaluate assignments, and you can also do service action activities over here directly. So if the student has visited a place to do community service, then all the details can be posted over here and the advisor can give them marks and evaluate them. So these are two main softwares when it comes to higher grades, when they do service or when they have to do assessments. Research is again a very important part of the curriculum. So, we use Google Scholar mostly. Children find it very easy because we teach them about the citations from a very early age. Especially for school children, Google Scholar is easy to use and easy to understand. A Google a Day is a beautiful tool. I am not sure if you have used it. If not, please do use it. Most of the time, students struggle at finding answers to the questions that we give them. What they do is they just copy the entire question, paste it in the Google search bar, and they look for answers. They hardly get answers. So what we tell them is to pick the right keywords, do keyword search. There are a lot of advanced Google searching techniques that you can teach them. Sometimes you can use the operators, plus, minus, search with quotes, without quotes, use some keywords like define, teach them those tips and tricks. And then this Google a Day is a beautiful game that they can play. Every day they can spend 5 minutes to complete one task. So what it does is it gives them a statement and it asks them to find the answer for that question. So they need to know which keywords to pick up from the statement. And there is a timer. Within that given time, they have to find the answer and then put the answer over here. So it's like a game. It's like a mini quiz over here. So this is a good practice to hone their research skills when it comes to online research, online search. Then the cyber safety part. We cannot reinforce this enough because as of now, since we have started using a lot of virtual tools, we have to keep talking about internet safety, cyberbullying. And of course, sometimes they get bored if I just show them a PPT and keep talking about this. So I used a tool called Be Internet Awesome. Again, Google gives a lot of materials to explore, PPTs, worksheets, downloadable resources mostly. So you can use this platform. So this has a small game where a character, a three-dimensional character, is traveling. It's called as an adventure land. It keeps traveling from place to place. And at each place, there is a kind of a threat which it needs to face. And there is a question that comes up saying, which will be the right choice for you if you were in this situation? So it connects that situation with the internet safety and they need to answer it. So, they can play this game, and while they're playing, they're able to also understand the seriousness of the issue. So Be Internet Awesome is a very good site to explore cyber safety. Now, the second one is communication, research, and collaboration. So some of the tools that I have used for it, one is the Blogger. It's a really good way to maintain blogs because students take a lot of pride in publishing something. It's like knowing that their work is going to be there forever. So please encourage them to use as much as possible blogging platforms like Blogger or WordPress or Tumblr, whatever works for them. If you're going to give a creative writing task, they can use Blogger. And the beauty of this is they can see what their peers have also posted, and they can read, they can give constructive comments. Of course, essential agreements should be in place, the do's and don'ts. But then Blogger is a really powerful tool. And I would suggest as teachers, you guys also start maintaining a blog. Many of you must be doing it already because, as you switch schools, sometimes you leave so much data behind. You don't have time to take what is necessary. But then when you create a blog, this is a blog that I had created for the PYP exhibition, which happened in the year 2018-19. I will post the link. You can keep it as well. 1 second. Sure, I'll share my contact details at the end of the session. Sure, I'll do that. Here. So what happened is it took a lot of work, but then trust me, it helps a lot. Not just me, so many teachers in my school. They don't have to call me up and ask, what did you do last year? Because everything is available here, starting from the TDP, the central idea, the LOI, every single document, the pictures, We got permission from the parents of the children to kind of use their pictures here. How did we start? This unit was on multimedia. So we were talking about how multimedia is creating an impact in education. And when it comes to multimedia, what are the different types of multimedia? So students were grouped into different categories. So some of them took photography, some of them took typography, some of them did digital images, and I was a mentor for this particular group. So I had created this site. So when you document everything to this extent, even for you to replicate something like this in the next year, it's not going to be difficult at all. As much as possible can be uploaded, and this I have created using Google Sites. The Google Sites is another powerful tool that you can use to create websites very easily. Or you can also use Weebly or Wix. There are so many other platforms that you can use, but this is completely free. There is no premium features involved in this. You can upload documents, images. You can connect, you can upload a video on YouTube and directly embed it over here. So which is why I chose Google, Google Sites. So just explore it. All these are student works, except for a few documents. Every single thing is done by the students on their own. They did a small community service. They created certain learning materials for a few students in a government school in Bangalore. They went and distributed those materials to the students because they did not have a very good internet infrastructure over there. So they said, based on your curriculum, we have created a few interesting materials that you can use for this year. And we gave it as a color print as well as a digital resource in a pen drive. So something like this can be done. And as a teacher, I also have this design blog. If you are an MYP teacher, please feel free to explore this when you have time. I have this habit of recording everything that happens in my class along with some of the best student works, so that even in the next year, if I have to go back and see how the outcome of the lesson was, this is an easy way. This I've done using WordPress. If you see, you can see all of the major projects that are done by the students from grade 6 to 8 in their design subject. So you can explore whenever you're free. Along with the learning outcomes, along with the resources used, a few student work snapshots are also given. So this really makes our life easy. Of course, there is it requires a lot of time and effort, but once you start the practice of doing this, then it's very difficult even for you to stop it at some point. You get very much hooked onto it. So yes, so that's there. So yes, bloggers are important, and of course, many of you will be using Google Keep and Google Tasks. It's just for your personal work management. Every day, some of you might have the habit of keeping diaries, but with Google Keep and Tasks, it's out there anyway. You have to check your mail every day, so it's just right there in front of you. As you finish the task, you can just put a tick and it gets done. When it comes to meeting, I take all my MOMs on Google Keep because it's easy for me to add my co-teachers so that everybody gets to know what's happening. And you can also attach pictures. For example, you scribbled something on the notebook, you made a diagram, you can even attach a picture of that happened during the meeting. And you can keep it pinned over here so that once the meeting is over and you meet for the next time, it's always out there and quickly you can check and give an update. Again, Google Drive is pretty much common. You can use Google Forms. Again, the beauty of using these tools is once the students see the teachers using all this, they take ownership and start using it at some point. If you see, this form was created completely by our students in grade 5 when they had elections. So they kind of created, they knew how to add options with photographs, how to create an ideal voting form. After the voting got ended, they knew how to analyze it. They generated a report and said, with the help of the teachers, of course, they said, they made the announcement saying that this is the person that won the election. So these are, again, there is no one tool that can do this work. There are different kinds of survey tools and forms that you can use. But again, Google Form is quick, pretty easy, and children themselves can take ownership and use it. And yeah, this is Google Slides, Google Site, which I just showed to you. Yes, YouTube channel. YouTube channel is again very powerful. You can see a lot of teachers having their own YouTube channels online. It's very, very simple. At this point, YouTube channels are very important because taking leave when we teach online is very difficult. Trust me, I have done that. you have to do a lot of background work. You have to create a lot of resources and keep everything ready before you say, I'm going to take a leave tomorrow. Even if it's a planned leave or an emergency leave, it creates a lot of confusion in the system. So what I do is I record a video, not necessarily showing my face. I just capture my screen. There is a wonderful tool called for screen capturing. I'll just write the name of the tool in the chat window. It's called Loom. I don't know if you have tried it, but if you just type Loom, you'll get the tool. It has an orange color icon. If you have a Mac, then it's easy for you to record the screen. But then with Windows, what happens is the screen recording softwares, they either have premium features or they gather a lot of background noise. But with Loom, I did not have that problem. So you can try Loom. You can just capture your screen. Let's say if I'm not coming today, I just show the worksheet or the assignment that I have created, and I just tell the students what they need to do by recording my voice. And then you upload the video on YouTube channel. You share the link with your coordinator or the head of school. And then all the students need to do is just watch the video and get on with the work. Even if there is a substitute teacher present in the class, they are still engaged, they're still busy, right? So they don't miss you much. So, this is a very interesting way of keeping your children engaged. It's like giving a while I'm away task sort of thing. So please do have a YouTube video channel. Like create videos. Here we have used a few videos from teachers. We had a practice of sharing best practices in our school. So some teachers said, I want to share this one practice I tried in my class. We cannot do it on a PD session because they have so many other things planned already. So why not create a channel like this and keep posting videos? It's very nice to look at their peers and learn from each other too. So Google, having a YouTube channel is very, very good. This is a snapshot of my channel over here. I have recorded a few things, and some of my students send videos of what they have done at their home. I've also uploaded that, and I've kept it separately so that it's all there in one place. And yes, please do connect a lot with teachers. You can use Microsoft Educator communities or the G Plus communities. Most of the ideas that I have used in my class, I've learned from teachers online. So please do connect a lot, talk to them, take part in the forum discussions. So many of you must have heard about Padlet, but I don't know if you have heard of this. It's called Wakelet. This is a product by Microsoft. And let me just quickly take you through one slide. Just a moment. Yeah. So what happened here is we were supposed to do a unit culmination. And of course, we didn't know how to go about it because, again, it's all digital. If it had been a normal situation, students would have gotten their project to school. We would have conducted a small exhibition, invited the parents. But at this point, we're wondering what to do. And then Wakelet helped me a lot because here, just like Padlet, students got really bored of hearing the word Padlet, so they kept telling, "Ma'am, we need some other tool that can be similar to Padlet, but pretty more interesting." So we gave them an assignment. This is something that they did on textile design, where they had to make a small stitching, do fabric painting, and come up with a logo. So what I did was I created this wall with a small instruction. I gave them an access to edit the wall, but the beauty of this is, again, just like Padlet, you cannot edit or remove what the other person is posting. So just like Padlet, but just the look and feel is different. You can see that the students have uploaded their work and they've also given a description. And when it comes to description, I'm a little particular. I tell them very clearly to reflect on the ATL skills, write about what went well, what went wrong, how it could be improved. So this can be a perfect way of culminating your unit, assess the students' learning, and they also get a view of what their peers or what their friends have done with the materials that they have created. Like this, you can create any number of walls for any number of assignments. So if you're really tired and bored of using Padlet, you can try Wakelet. Creativity and self-management. For this, I have used a lot of coding tools. Since I'm an ICT teacher, I loved exploring this. And of course, if you're an art teacher or even a science teacher, if you're teaching math, let's say, you can see different ways of integrating this. If you're talking about shapes, this is from Khan Academy. I've listed all these sites in the toolkit as well. Children can easily learn how to code using JavaScript using Khan Academy. It's just that you have to tell them what function to use, what parameters to give, and then they get an interesting output. And this is from code.org, where they're learning how to do simple coding using Scratch. This is with Code with Google. And this is again code.org. So these are some interesting sites which will help children start with coding, because generally they think coding is all about long line, one whole page of gibberish that nobody can understand. It's going to be difficult. But then at the end of the day, students should understand that logic is important in coding. If they know how to use the controls and how to create an output, then it's going to be easy. This is an app called Hopscotch. Again, for primary learners, this will be very, very useful. And this is the MIT App Inventor for secondary students. For arts, teachers who use visual arts, Google Arts and Culture is a wonderful site. All different types of artworks, be it sculptures, be it street art, be it a work that is done using some kind of material that has not been used before. Whatever forms of art that you're trying and exploring, everything is being recorded in this particular site. The beauty of this is it gives you a virtual look and feel of how an artwork is placed inside a museum, because they take 360-degree photographs inside the museum and they have curated everything properly. So this can be definitely used. You can also do investigations on famous artists and their artworks. So as art teachers, this is a great site to go and explore and give research work for your students. And students, teachers who would love to teach machine learning or artificial intelligence in your class, the Google AI experiments are very good. These are experiments created by geeks and Google developers from all over the world. Through simple experiments, you can tell or you can teach the way machine learning happens, neural network works, or natural language processing happens. So all these things can be beautifully demonstrated using real-time examples, using real-time projects. I also follow this model of tech integration, which is the SAMR model. You must have heard of this again. Sometimes we really don't know how much of technology is really necessary. You can't completely replace a teacher's presence with technology, but we have to use technology at some point. Teachers who don't use technology, it's very difficult for them to carry on for a long time. So we have to embrace technology at some point. But then we can adjust. Again, here it's all about adjusting the mix. So sometimes you can directly substitute technology for whatever you're doing. For instance, instead of writing it on a piece of paper, I can do the same on a word processing document. Sometimes it can act as an augmentation. The technology is a direct substitute, but then with a little functional improvement, which means instead of writing it on a piece of paper, I do it on a Google Doc, and then few more people can collaborate on the same document. So that's a functional improvement over there. I can't do that on a piece of paper. Modification, you can do a significant task redesign. So instead of doing it on a Google Doc, maybe I can create a storyboard. The same story can be represented in the form of a storyboard using some storyboard creator or comic strip maker or something like that. And redefinition is a creation of new task which was previously inconceivable. It's like converting that whole story into a movie with sound and music and other added effects. So that is when you move from the enhancement part to transformation part. And it cannot be done very quickly because it also considers the age group of learners, that kind of assignment you give them. But then you can have this as, I always take a print of this and keep it on my board so that, I know what I'm doing and where I can map it and on which area I can map it with. So this is one good model for you to ideally follow if you are keen on integrating technology. So the resource sheet, the toolkit, I've already shared with all of you. The time is almost 10:29, 10:30 now. If there are any questions, I will take. So this is it. This is my session, and I hope it was useful. I'm sorry that's too much to digest, but please take your time, explore these tools whenever you're free. I will share my contact details, and you can write to me anytime you want if you have any questions about these tools. I hope there was some useful takeaway from the session. If there are any questions, please feel free to discuss. I'll be very happy to answer.
Summer, I would just like to say thank you so much. There's a lot that you have shared. I could connect with a couple of the platforms since I teach IB, English B, and I've always wanted my students to work on blogs.
Right.
And when you were talking about blog, so but it has never happened seriously. But I like the side where you said they can make their own blogs.
Yeah.
The only question I have is that I have always struggled with annotating their work. Previously, we were working with Shobi where the kids used to submit their work, and annotation was pretty easy. But with Google Classroom, that is something that is missing out. Um, do you have any tool where, like I know Google Keep is something where you can upload the work from Google Classroom and then annotate. But is there anything else, any other tool where the kids' work can be marked?
Okay. So what kind of issues do you have with using Google Docs for this? Is there any problem? If there is any challenge in this?
No, I have not tried that. But in Google Classroom itself, I've tried, and then it doesn't work. We either highlight and give them a comment, or we just or I have to just verbally give them a feedback. So feedback. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, Google Docs, I think it's very good because once they submit, you'll be able to highlight, you'll be able to comment. When you say annotate, it's like basically giving a feedback on a certain patch of text, right? Yes. That can be very well be done on Google Docs because we have e-portfolios for MYP, and for them, portfolio document is like a 6-month work. At every point I have to highlight and say this is missing, add this is very good, and I also post the scores directly on the same document, and Google Docs has been very, very useful. But we can definitely connect personally and discuss and on how to implement this effectively.
I appreciate that. I would like to.
Sure.
You said you're giving your contact detail. I'll get.
I'm gonna post it over here.
Thank you
give
so
my
much.
email ID. Yeah,
Thank
no
you
problem.
so much. And it was a lovely presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. This is my WhatsApp number and that's my email ID. You can just drop a message and I'll quickly get back to you. Yes. Any more questions? If not, I think Bina, we can wind up. If if there's no question, they can take a break. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot for your patience and thanks a lot for your comments. Bina?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've shared my contact details. So in case, they want to connect, I think they can definitely do that.
So, Tamir, my name is Bina Menon. I just spoke with you. So I will message you on this number.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think the links to the presentation, the toolkit, everything will be posted on the site as well once all the sessions are over. I think probably by tomorrow. It will always be there. So, and I've given my contact details. So be in touch with me if you have any further questions. Thank you so much.
I'll stop recording.